Virginia, take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Cindy. So good morning, everyone. And Cindy gave us an opening about Kwanzaa. And Kwanzaa is Swahili, and it means first fruits. And it's a way in the African American community to celebrate community. And it began in 1966 after the riots that occurred in Watts, LA. And with Kwanzaa, it's a day of celebration and it's celebrating seven principles. And during this time with the seven principle, candles are lit. And one candle is lit every night for the week that begins with Kwanzaa, which is actually today. So it's from December 26th through January 1st. And the principles that are celebrated begin with unity, which is to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Day two is self-determination, and that is to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Day three, collective work and responsibility, to build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. Day six is corporate economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and our businesses and to profit from them together. And day seven is purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. So it goes into consciousness, how we celebrate in terms of being one, working with one as a community. So that is Kwanzaa. Thank you. And I give it back to Cindy.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Virginia. So happy Kwanzaa, happy first day of Kwanzaa. So, today is the last Sunday service for 2021. And we've been talking all year about soaring to new heights. And December, we've been talking about recapturing the light. And all the talks from Reverend Verona, Reverend Joan, our candlelight service, there's no doubt in my mind that we all recognize that we are the light. And we all, we don't have to really recapture it, we just get to remember it, right? Remember that we are the light. And what I wanted to offer you today was to follow the yellow brick road. Everybody's yellow brick road is a little bit different, but I'm going to add on to that. Follow the yellow brick road, lessons of the turtle and beyond. So I was doing some letting it go work for a client of mine, and she had a whole bookshelf and was releasing a lot of the books. And there was this one little book called Lessons of the Turtle. It's written, Lessons of the Turtle, Living Right Side Up, and it's written by a man named Steve Goodyear. And it's just this cute little tiny little book. And I just I held it in my hand. I'm like, oh my, I think this has to come home with me. So that's one of those things about following the yellow brick road, which you'll hear about as I weave these lessons of the turtle into following your yellow brick road. So as I look back on my journey, and I can also look back on the journey of my loved ones, my friends and my family, I've noticed some things that, just like Dorothy, when Dorothy stepped out onto that yellow brick road, that she was looking for a path that would lead to good things, that would lead to her purpose. So everybody is on their own yellow brick road. And I can't step on to your yellow brick road. I can only be on mine. It might seem like we join others along the path, yes, but we can only be on our own yellow brick road, because the yellow brick road is that place, that lifelong process that is giving you the potential to constantly, consistently return to our divine desires and our purpose. As Robert Burns said, the purpose of life is a life of purpose. So I mentioned this about Michael Allen. I hope you don't get mad at me, Michael, but what I want to say about Michael Allen is the thing that I've noticed about his Yellow Brick Road is he's constantly and consistently doing his spiritual practice of prayer and meditation so that he hears and he sees those little signals by the people that he meets, the places that he goes that lead him to his next step. And that inspires me. And I can also see that for myself, that even as I have continued on my Yellow Brick Road, it hasn't been free of peaks and valleys, rubble, rocks, stumbling. You know, it's all of that, because those things are the things that really allow me to have a different perspective of life. So back to that little turtle. One of the lessons is that the turtle had an accident. See, he decided to not follow all the other little turtles and take the same path that they take down to the lake. He decided to make his own path. He saw a different way of going. So he's walking over along this path, but he didn't realize that the ground below wasn't stable. So when his little foot hit that piece of unstable ground, he plummeted and tumbled all the way down the hill and ended up on his back. So, you know, if a turtle doesn't get right side up, that it's kind of like a sure death kind of thing that's going to happen to him. So this little turtle, he was so scared that he couldn't even open his eyes until this owl came along. And the owl was speaking to him and saying, "Hey, what are you doing here? What's going on? Why are your eyes closed?" Basically, I'm not going to do the whole story of the turtle book, but I'm going to give you bits and pieces. I encourage you to take a look at it. It's very cute. But he encouraged the turtle to open his eyes, this owl. When the turtle opened his eyes, he had never seen so much blue and clouds and trees. See, the turtle, when he's walking on the ground, all he sees is the ground. He sees a trunk of a tree as an obstacle, a big brown object. He sees the grass, he sees the dirt, but he never sees the blue sky. So because the turtle had this gift of choice, he took it and went on his own road. It didn't provide him with the smooth road, but it provided him with a way of seeing the world in a different light. So, how many of us have allowed our lives to be swept along the beliefs and lives of our ancestors and our family, our society? I was in corporate America for 40 years, and I'm grateful for every moment I spent there. And it was definitely a part of my path. And there was a big piece of me, especially the last 10 years, that knew my life had a bigger purpose. There was a calling on my life. It doesn't mean that I didn't show up every day at my job and show up in a way that was doing good work in the world, spreading my love, being kind and compassionate. The moment, wow. The moment that I said, I'm going to ministerial school, it was within the first year that I was in ministerial school that my corporate job that I had, I was there for 11 years at that last job, said, yeah, we're laying off a quarter of our company and you're one of them. So that calling on my life was bigger than my will of wanting to be able to pay the rent and take care of myself. It was bigger than me. So I found myself not working, but being able to dedicate my life to going to ministerial school. I found myself in a place that I didn't have to rush my homework, my growth work, my meditations. I couldn't have scripted this any better, you guys. There's no way. So the difference between our will, our free will, which I'm grateful that we all have free will, don't get me wrong, and what the calling on my life is that sometimes that calling, that purpose on my life, it doesn't necessarily follow a linear, logical line. I didn't wake up and grow up thinking I'm going to be a minister. However, I did grow up thinking I'm going to be an artist. That's something that's always been with me. The ministerial thing was truly divinely guided. Meeting who I call my spiritual Eskimo at 17 years old, when she taught me how to meditate and explained to me that it took 21 days to create a new habit. I'll always be grateful to my spiritual Eskimo. And I'm also very grateful to all those things in my life that have felt like have-tos, shoulds, because without those things, I don't know what the opposite spectrum of that is. I get it that there's things that we have to do in life, like, important things like pay the rent, take care of our body temples, be kind and compassionate to our loved ones. I mean, well, I guess there are people out there that don't worry about those things. But I know the people that I associate myself with do. So one of those lessons from the turtle was that he had free will to make his choice to go on that road less traveled. It reminds me, when we are handed down the things that we are handed down by society, by our parents, by our grandparents, that we always have a choice. That maybe it is ours to do and maybe it's not ours to do. And that brings me to the story of a woman that wanted to learn cooking from her grandmother. So she goes to her grandmother's house, and the grandmother wanted to teach her how to cook this fish dish. And so they went to the market. They didn't go fishing. They went to the market and they bought the fish and they bring it home. And the first thing the grandmother did was cut the head and the tail off this fish to make it exactly 5 inches long. And then they proceeded with the recipe to cook this amazing, amazing dish. So they ate this wonderful dinner, and the granddaughter went home and decided to make this dish for her family. And she got her pan out. She went to the store and she was about to cut the fish. And she thought, I wonder why I'm cutting the fish. And she called her grandmother and said, why is it in the recipe we have to cut the fish? And the grandmother said, well, that's the size of the pan, honey. The granddaughter had a much bigger pan and didn't need to do that, right? So how many times in our life do we just do something because that's how it's always been done, right? Oh my goodness. I can tell you so many times that I have fallen into that trap. Now, I do want to say that people that are older than me, that have a lot of wisdom, I listen to them and honor them in a way where sometimes the experiences of their life are here to inform my life. So when my mom has said certain things to me when I was a younger woman, I just kind of poo-pooed it and said, I'm going to do it my own way, Mom. But now that I am the age that I am, with the experiences that I've had, I recognize and realize that those things come in handy, that Mom did know best in some of these things that she told me. So I'm just saying this because we want to honor it all. If there's something pulling you, do it. See, free will is freedom. It lets us question what's ours to do. We don't have to make our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents right or wrong for the ways that they did what they did. For me, I want to always honor that divine pull within. Back to my early days at a Science of Mind church. The minute I walked through those doors, I knew I was home. I was in my late 30s, and I had been studying exactly what they were talking about for the last 20 years, or almost 20 years, since I was 17, since my spiritual Eskimo, Frida, taught me how to meditate. So when I walked through those doors, I didn't question, what is this? Is this a church? Is this a cult? Is it, what is this thing? What is this thing that I walked into? My heart knew it was home, and I jumped in and I took classes. And then that class led to another class, to another class, to another class, until all of a sudden there I was in practitioner studies. Practitioner 1, I still wasn't convinced that being a practitioner was on my path. And when I finished practitioner 1, I was completely 100% clear that this was for me, that this was, and this is the calling on my life. See, for all the ministerial hopefuls out there, I know there are some of you in the room that would like to do ministerial school, that are already ministers in your own right. The truth is, we're always a practitioner first and foremost. And I'm looking at a friend of mine here online who's a practitioner emeritus, someone that I know and love, that has lots of wisdom, that I've gleaned so much wisdom from. My friend Matlin. It's so good to see you. I just love you and honor you. Thank you for being here. And I want to say that the amazing thing about choices is that we do always have choice. Now, I'm not saying that we can always control everything in life. I know better than that. Sometimes plans don't work out, but we can always choose who we spend time with. We can always choose what we watch and what we listen to. We can always choose what classes we take and what we choose to learn. And we can always choose, whether you know it or not right now, how we react to the situations that come up along our yellow brick road. I want to tell another little story from the lessons of the turtle. This isn't necessarily about the turtle, but it's in the book, and I just thought it was a profound lesson for all of us. Definitely for me. So, and this is all about choices, right? So there's a couple of coworkers, and every day they have lunch together. And one day, one of the coworkers says to the other, "Oh my God, bologna again. I hate bologna. This is the third time this week I'm eating bologna. Here we go again. I'm sick and tired of bologna." So the other coworker says, "Well, why don't you tell your wife to make you a different lunch?" And the guy looks at him and says, "I don't have a wife. I make my own lunch." Right? So how much bologna are we bringing to our lives over and over? We have a choice to choose something other than bologna, but we keep choosing a bologna lunch. I don't know. I love that little story because it's so clear and so profound. Create a new menu, people. Right? So back to the yellow brick road. It is my belief, and it is my knowing from my experience on my journey, that anytime I take a step, it is along my yellow brick road. The question is, am I taking a step from my internal guidance, my divine knowing, my passion, my essential self? Or am I taking a step from a place of free will and ego that thinks I should be doing something a certain way? So first, there are no steps along the yellow brick road. There's no wrong steps. There's only steps. The second thing that I notice about my yellow brick road is I can't even know the concept of how good life can be beyond my human reality unless I go into meditation and vision. In other words, I never saw for myself living this inspired life that I get to live. I never saw for myself a life where I get to get up and serve, where I get to answer a call that comes in and have the time to speak to that person. I never saw a life for myself other than working. And of course, yes, doing my spiritual studies and my life the way I liked it, but I never saw a life that I truly got to wake up and live an inspired life that I am living because I've taken each step that I've taken. So another note about the yellow brick road. Like I said, there's no wrong steps. That along the road, when we take a step that causes grief, challenges, pain, that is not a reason for me to beat myself up. It's only a reason for me to know myself as the strong, independent, courageous, beautiful woman that I am. And the same goes for each and every soul here. It doesn't matter if you made a decision and it feels like things are falling apart. It doesn't matter if you went to a gathering and it didn't happen the way you thought it would happen. It wasn't all lights and a beautiful Christmas movie. right? What matters is that you got up and that you showed up as your light self that you are. That genuine, authentic, essential, loving being of light and love that you are. So back to purpose. I still find people on this path that tell me, but I don't know my purpose. You are lucky. You know you wanted to be an artist. Well, your purpose is to live a life of purpose. And the only way to connect to your purpose is to pay attention, like Michael does every day. Pay attention to what's calling on your heart. Pay attention to what your passions are. Pay attention to the third person in a row telling you about the same book or the same movie. Pay attention. You know, I noticed within our community that we all get pulled in a certain focused direction. Not all, but it feels like 3 or 4 people at the same time are studying Dr. Sue, or 3 or 4 people at the same time are studying something, you know, that's, you know, not necessarily Agape, but it's in alignment with Agape, that we all kind of align to at the same time. That is so beautiful. You are my tribe. You are my people. You are my family. So pay attention. Pay attention. That is the best way to live your purpose. And what is calling you? What choices have you been making that are full of baloney? What choices are you making that you really want a different menu? So as we follow the yellow brick road, listen. Like that little turtle, look up to the sky, see the clouds, see the trees in a different way. Take a different road, take a different path. Find those interests and things that light you up. Then, as you're walking down your yellow brick road, you're going to see that wizard, that wizard of your own heart, that wizard of love, that wizard of light. So I wanted to end with one of the readings, that ancient Sanskrit reading that we did earlier today, because it just feels like it's the perfect way to end my talk. So I invite you to close your eyes and just listen to the exhortation of dawn. Look well to this day. This is life, the very life of life. In this brief course lie all the verities, all realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Such is the salutation of the dawn.